Hello, this is Sharif Abdullah, and I want to spend a few minutes talking with you about our recent activities around the coronavirus. Lots of people have been filling up lots of airspace regarding what they know and actually, in some very interesting ways, what they don't know about this virus. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician, I should say. I'm not a prognosticator. I am not someone who's going to try to make you afraid of anything. I want to give you a perspective on this. And the perspective is the perspective that I almost always talk from, and that is the perspective of inclusivity, the perspective of spirituality, this perspective of what is it that we can all do together to face a situation that we human beings have created into a crisis. Um, my friend Carl Anthony gave me a great quote some years ago. Um, he said, an earthquake is not a disaster. It's a naturally occurring event. The disaster is putting your house on the fault line. So COVID-19 is not a disaster. It is a naturally occurring event. In terms of the spectrum of naturally occurring events that can cause us some level of illness, it is not the worst thing that we've got, not the best thing that we've got. But if you put this in perspective, your fear levels will instantly go down. So there's lots and lots of people who don't want you to put this into perspective. They don't want your fear levels to go down. They want your fear to go up. And so they will give you facts and figures and information in such a way that it'll make your heart palpitate. I was talking to a friend recently, and she is a waitress at a restaurant that I go to, and I was just kind of conversationally saying there are lots of people reacting to things going on here, and she almost starts tearing up, and she's saying, "I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. I don't know what to do. I'm and I realized that, oh, and she's saying, I'm paying attention to everything I'm seeing, everything I'm reading, and it's making me afraid. And I realized that's what it's there to do. Now, how many times have you heard me say, stop being afraid? Stop looking at the world through the lens of fear. You can figure out the right thing to do once you stop looking at the lens of fear. So I'm going to tell you a few right things to do, and then I'm going to tell you why there is so much information and misinformation going out in the world over something that is not that big a deal. And then you're going to start questioning, what do you mean not big a deal if you're running around, if they're closing down the country, etc. But let me first give you the three things to think about, three things for you to do to respond to the coronavirus. It's there, it's going around the world. Number one, use your common sense. There's so much that's going on out here nowadays. We really do need to start thinking about things in terms of common sense. You see somebody sneezing and coughing, just stay away from them. That happened to me just 2 days ago. There's a person walking down the street, they're hacking, coughing, they're sneezing. The second thing you do is what I did. You use your intuition. Remember the intuition I keep saying that you need to develop? You develop your intuition. And I used my intuition and said, this person does not have the coronavirus. He's got something. Whatever he's got, I don't want it. So I kind of walked around him, but I wasn't running for my life. Oh my God, the coronavirus is going to get me. Um, so first of all, use your common sense. I am washing my hands a lot more than I have done than I do in normal circumstances. Definitely, every time I come in from outside, I wash my hands. Um, every time I'm using the bathroom in a public bathroom, I'm washing my hands, and I'm using the used paper towels to dry the lock and dry the handle to the bathroom, so that the next person will have a cleaner experience than normal. Um, and then we get to the third thing. So if the first thing is use your common sense, the second thing is use your intuition, the third thing is stop operating from fear. Okay? We act like this is that we're living in scenes from the movie Contagion, and if you saw that, and if that doesn't scare you, nothing will. But this isn't Contagion. This is, there are going to be some hundreds or thousands of people in your community that will experience the coronavirus. Of them, a handful of them are going to die. Now, I don't wish death on anyone. However, I recognize that everyone will experience it. There's not one person I'm talking to right now who will not experience death. Okay. Um, develop a relationship with that, and therefore, when you have a relationship with death, you then can say, you will then know, once you hit your intuition, whether or not this is your time to die. I can say, because I'm not afraid of death, that I'm not going to die from the coronavirus. I can also say, because I'm using my intuition, that I won't catch it. I will act as though I can carry it, which is why I'm washing my hands and why I'm staying away from people, from certain people that are obviously carrying something. Okay. Um, but once I'm not afraid of a virus, once I'm not afraid of death, then I can take appropriate actions. Not shutting off all social contacts, not running and hiding in my apartment, but I can take appropriate social actions, and appropriate connections with people. Um, so I am advocating this approach over the approach that the media is throwing at us. And that approach is run for your lives, run around in circles like a chicken with your head cut off, overreact, be fearful, hide, and then watch more news so that you can do more of these things that will have nothing to do with whether or not and how the virus spreads. So one piece of advice for people in a particular subgroup, and those are the people over 80 years old. Those are the people who, for whatever reason, have a compromised immune system. You do need to take some additional precautions, because that's the group that is experiencing life-threatening illness from this virus. That's the group that is experiencing death from this virus. The death rate is generally double, maybe more than that, for people who are in the age group from a normal flu. And that number isn't all that high. Okay, so it's not like people are dropping dead in the streets, which is the way the media is portraying all this. That simply isn't happening. When it passes, the media will not report to you that it's passed. Okay, this is an interesting kind of conundrum. It looks as though the virus has passed in China, where it started, with some hundreds of deaths, with some tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 people who got sick. The illness is relatively mild, and they got over it. Okay, so once we put this into perspective, we can start the process of actually supporting ourselves and supporting each other. So, how do we support ourselves? First and foremost, turn off the news. And I'm very serious about this. If the news isn't telling you some facts that you actually need to know for your protection, for your a way to respond to this, if you're looking for the 25th time on how to wash your hands, turn it off. It's not doing you any good. Okay, if you are, and the media loves this kind of thing, kind of crisis, because there's this steady drumbeat of how many more people in England have gotten sick and how many more cities have shut down, and none of that is doing you any good. It doesn't talk about your local condition, and it doesn't talk about anything that you can do anything about. So shut it off. That's doing your own heart good. That's doing your own consciousness good. You're not going to be running around so afraid, like my friend at the restaurant, that she's about to burst into tears at any second. You're not looking at other human beings with suspicion. Okay, the next thing, I'm sorry, so in terms of the news, look for something that is new information, useful information, something that you can actually use, functional information, not somebody's belief system operating, not conjecture, not some group saying this other group is responsible. None of that is going to help you at all. Don't rehash old news. Get good functional information. Get one or two sources of that good information and shut the rest of them off. Okay. Second, increase your spiritual practices. Increase your meditation. If you do 20 minutes a day, do 30 or 40 minutes a day. Increase your chanting. Increase the things that get you breathing and breathing deeply. Your Om chanting is really important right now. The things that will expand your heart, because all this new stuff does is shut it down, make you suspicious of other beings, etc. So open it up, open up your intuition. If you don't have a practice of intuition, okay, you should have gotten one before now, and you should get one now. Okay, so you get and there are lots and lots of different devices one uses to develop and cultivate intuition. Start practicing that so that you will know how to connect with others. And that gets me to my next point. Part of your spiritual practice should be the practice of inclusivity, the practice of recognizing that we are one. Okay? We are one with each other. And even while you're maintaining social distance, and I'm doing some of that, even though you're maintaining non-physical contact, and I've been playing with other people with the elbow bump, and one thing I don't play with is the prayer that where you bring your hands together and you bow to the other person while making eye contact with them. This is a great way for you to practice inclusivity and also practice social distancing. Social distancing is not averting your eyes and turning away and seeing somebody coming to you and running away from them, etc. Social distancing just simply means um, I'm, I'm going to maintain a cough distance from you, and I'm also going to be deeply as possible connected to you. Um, so all this is an invitation. And the invitation is for you to increase your mindfulness, is to increase your capacity, your heart capacity and your mind capacity to connect with other human beings, to make a connection, a deep connection with other human beings. If I may, and I don't want this to go too long, um, if I may, I want to suggest to you why and how it's important for you to act. Um, some of you may have heard me talk about my meditation master from Sri Lanka, Mr. Ugala, and how he talked about 5 levels of consciousness for human beings. And the 5 levels of consciousness, I'm going to do this really quickly, and if there's interest in it, I'll do a slower and a more thoughtful uh, explanation of these 5 levels. The 5 levels are lower, human, great, noble, and divine. And these 5 levels, the only difference between these levels is the difference of consciousness energy that you have within you. The ability to be mindful. Not everybody's able to be mindful unless you develop this energy in you. And everything in American society is to keep you from developing that energy. Okay, so again, lower, human, great, noble, and divine. Now, the lower energy doesn't even have enough energy to really be fully conscious as a human being, and these are the people who react blindly without thought, who buy a shopping cart full of toilet paper without thinking of what am I going to do with a shopping cart full of toilet paper. They just are, they heard somebody else has it, so now I want it because this is, I'm afraid. You don't want to be that person. Human means you can start thinking about this. What do I really need? What is it? What should I be really paying attention to? Is the information that I'm getting actually something that is helpful for me? The other two, the great and the noble, these are again enough. You have enough consciousness energy to radiate consciousness energy out to other people. That radiation of consciousness energy will keep any disease away from you. It keeps disease, it keeps bad thoughts, it keeps all this stuff away from you. It's like your own energy field. And more important, it activates other people's energy fields, so it keeps disease away from them also. And your ability just to walk down the street, to have the experience of meeting other people, meeting other people's eyes, smiling when appropriate, okay, blessing when appropriate. These things are going to be are our disease prevention program. The disease prevention program is not a vaccine that our scientists need to come up with some in a lab. It's to keep the energy away from you. It's amazing how quickly people forget things like the law of attraction. The more you talk about the coronavirus, the closer it gets to you. The less you talk about it, the further away it gets from you. The more you are talking and activating your own heart, the more you are blending your heart energy with the heart energy of others, keeps all this away from you it also keeps all of it away from all others that you're interacting with. Now, I'm not saying that to say that that's all you need and you're just going to run around in the world without a tissue, without using your common sense, because your common sense is an integral part of your mindfulness. You can't say I'm a mindful person and then be doing stupid, silly, risky things. Okay, and so I'm not an advocate for saying this matter is a complete illusion. Do anything you want to do. Ignore the fact that your nose is running. Okay, I am saying take effective, common sense actions and keep your heart energy at the highest level that you possibly can, and join with others in keeping that heart energy as high as you can, and walk in the world in such a way that you're not afraid, and walk in the world in such a way that your energy is more brilliant, is higher than what you are being subjected to in the media and by fearful people. Um, Same thing I've been saying for a long time, but just applying it to this particular situation with the coronavirus. Don't be afraid. Pay attention. Common sense and mindfulness will get us through not just this situation, but will get us through all of the other situations where we have naturally occurring events that we then turn into disasters. So, blessings to you. May all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. Thank you.